Cheers, everybody. We are back for another edition of Bourbon on a Budget. TJ Pittenger, Brendan Sonnone, and Ben Cock. It slaps a little bit different when that intro music comes in and we're live on the air, as opposed to just when I post-production edit it later. You guys like that music or not? Brendan actually played it.
Are you guys? Yeah, I recorded that. That was all me. That's on my guitar. Did you guys ever like pop a bottle and expect no afterwards?
No, just
I
you.
do. Oh, okay. Good start.
Yeah, well, glad we're here, and Brendan made it awkward, so at least it only took 45 seconds this time. We have an exciting episode planned for you guys tonight. If you don't think it's exciting, then you can just go jump off a bridge, because we think it's exciting.
Right off a bridge.
I was going to just go link this to the message board, but you endorsing suicide feels inappropriate for me to put on a company account. So
the good news is I didn't say how tall of a bridge, and I meant a little baby one. So hopefully you guys just enjoy water, because we live by the water. So enjoy your swimming.
Go jump in a puddle.
Go jump in a puddle, and I hope you sprain your ankle. We are back again, and we've got a fun episode planned tonight. We are going to chat a little bit about 1920. We've got the old air quotes for those watching, the old 1920. We've got the new 1920.
Mm-hmm.
New labeling is kind of what we're comparing here, and we're going to put them up against each other. And we've been told, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, but we've been told that there are no differences. But we are going to test that tonight.
Just in case.
That's the case. And worst case, there's no difference, and we get to have double the amount of 1920. So who wins here? Us. Then we're going to get into some bourbon events, happenings, shenanigans, things that went on this last week. Ben and I went to an event. Brendan was down in the Tampa Bay area and did a lot of drinking as well. We will obviously update some pursuits and purchases and update you guys on what we'll be reviewing on Thursday. But we're glad that you're with us. If you're watching, I said this last couple of weeks.
I said this last week. I said it.
You can't. He's canceled. You can't do Foghorn Leghorn.
That is true. He is.
Yeah,
Why?
so,
wait, no, we don't need to get into it.
Yeah,
we weren't quoting Foghorn Leghorn. We're just quoting someone who stutters.
I forgot all about that.
Interesting. In a very stereotypical Southern accent. Very nice. So if you're watching this on Twitter, you can't interact with us because StreamYard hasn't put the comments back on where you can.
Scream.
Go check us out on YouTube or Facebook. It's Bourbon on a Budget. We will interact with you there. We'll take your comments. We'll read them on the air. We used to get tons and tons and tons. Now we get like one or two people commenting because nobody uses Facebook, and our YouTube hasn't taken off just yet, but it's going to. I know that
you just wait. You just freaking wait.
It's a slow grind over there. But if you're watching on Twitter, if you can go over there, we would appreciate it. And then we enjoy all interactions on social media. So whether that be Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever, we like that stuff. Brendan.
Yes.
Starting with you, because you are my favorite person.
Thank you.
Whose name is Brendan.
No.
Would you tell us a little bit about 1920 before we get into it?
Old Forester 1920 style prohibition whiskey. So they're just trying to get back to the good old days of prohibition. This is from Old Forester's Whiskey Row series. We did 1910, which is their toasted version of it. That was in honor of like a fire a couple weeks ago. Well, the fire was from 1910, but we reviewed it a couple weeks ago. This is their 1920 proof amped up version. It's 115 proof, similar mash bill. It's not toasted like 1910. It's part of the Whiskey Row series, which is an ode to different bourbons in the history or style of bourbons in the history of Old Forester's distillery. So they have a bottled and bond, and then some other like small batch or original batch one as well. But this one is specifically named for the Volstead Act of 1920, which initiated prohibition in the USA, granted permits to 6 distillers in Kentucky to continue to bottle bourbon for, do you have any
medicinal uses?
Doctors were prescribing. That feels a little like medical marijuana now, right? Like where people are like, "Oh, I got anxiety. Well, here's some bourbon. Here's some medical marijuana for your cataracts." So through one of these permits, Old Forester continued to be produced as a medicinal whiskey on Louisville's famed Whiskey Row. It is the only bourbon. This is all from the website, Old Forester specifically. It's the only bourbon continuously sold by the same company that has been available for sale before, during, and after Prohibition. During this time, all bottles had to be bottled at 100 proof, with a barrel entry proof of 100. The quote unquote angel share, which I guess is what's left, right? Isn't it what's left over into the barrel?
No.
Or in the
No, the angel
barrel?
share is what they take. Was what the
They
angels take.
evaporate into the air.
Ooh. Well, how do you get it then? Well, it would have been created at
The angels
150
take
proof.
it. They're
You don't
freaking
get it.
celestial. They're celestial beings.
You don't get it.
I've seen
The
Guardians
angel
of the
share is
Galaxy.
what's gone.
It would have created 115 proof whiskey after maturation to pay homage to this era. Old Forester presents 1920 homage
For dosing.
Old Forester presents 1920 Prohibition style
Falcons.
bourbon at 115 proof. Future spoiler alert by TJ there to represent the rich flavor profile of this bourbon had nearly 100 years ago. It is about $60. It is aged at least 4 years, but there's no age statement on it. Mash bill: 72% corn, 80% rye, 10% malted barley. I'm pretty sure that's the standard Old Forester high rye mash bill.
All of Old Forester's Whiskey Rose series is the same mash bill as is birthday bourbon. Talk about that a little bit later. So just a little insider info.
Oh my God. So it came out in 2017. It was the third of the 4 Whiskey Road releases.
Or you mean?
And as Ben said, the best of the 4. We did this in King of the Hill, if you guys remember. It went pretty far, to round 4 and lost to Wild Turkey Rare Breed, which is also a banger and $50 cheaper. Yeah, which is partially why it run. But so this is the initial 2017 label, if you guys can see this here. And they just recently released a new label. We're out here to do some science, though, fellas, correct?
Yeah, we have been told that we'll talk more about this later, but we went to an Old Forester event on Thursday evening of last week, and the Old Forester rep that was there told us that nothing has changed about this whiskey. The labels have changed, but it's the same exact identical juice there. Brendan's done some, I don't want to call it nerdy little research, but he's done some nerdy little research online, and
on the line,
the line says that that's not the case. So now, what I will say is that there's a chance that Old Forester has not changed anything about this, and just because it's 3 or 4 years later, like the whiskey has just changed a little bit because it's impossible to get exactly the same. So maybe that's the big difference. But we're here, like Brendan said, to do official scientific research into if this is different or not. Brendan, you have been sticking that nose so deep into those glasses that I just have to hear what you're thinking about on the nose on both of those.
Yeah, there are people out there who theorize that there is a difference. So there have been other reviewers and whatnot who maintain there is a difference. So I would say that there is a difference on the nose, but maybe like 10%. So in my left hand here, viewers, right, I would imagine I got the OG, the 1920s, 2017 older version of it. And it's got very traditional bourbon notes. Ben was sniffing around this earlier. He mentioned leather. I cannot not get leather in my brain now, but brown sugar, the little bit of the orange peel, which is very standard for Old Forester, as well as a little bit of custardy banana. That's super Old Forester. So that's what I'm getting on the OG. Do we want to go back and forth with them, guys, or do we want to just say what we're getting out of one first and then compare it to the other? How do we want to do
tell
this?
Tell me what you're getting out of the other. Tell me what.
Give me your comparisons here.
What may be different about the other?
The level of rye spice I'm getting from the newer one, and this happened as soon as I poured it, is more prevalent. That's the biggest difference. It doesn't have quite the heft and richness, I feel like, on the nose that the OG one has. It is a little sweeter, and I don't know, that's from the rye spice that can sometimes come off as a little sweet too, a little more sickly sweet, a little more brown sugar. I don't know which one I like better, but this newer one feels a tad lighter, if that makes sense. That's my opinion. Benethy, tell me I'm wrong.
I don't actually disagree with you too much. I do think the older one tastes and smells a little.
And when we say older, we just mean the earlier release.
The older label, sorry.
Yeah, it's not
the
technically
old label. Taste and smells like darker. Definitely on the more like savory notes. I get more leather on the old than I do on the new. One note that I can't shake on the nose of the new one, and I'm going to throw this out there, and it's going to be funky, but bear with me here. Stick your nose in the new one, right? And tell me you don't get a little bit of like bubble gum out of it.
Oh God, I almost knocked over the old one. Whew, close one. Bubble
Like a
gum.
weird bubble gum.
You
on
know
the
what?
nose.
There's a fruitiness to it.
Like a banana bubble gum.
Yeah, there is.
Like a banana taffy and bubble gum.
So the old one fruit is like I mentioned the banana a little bit, but it's also got like cherry and very traditional bourbon notes. Ben, to your point, like there is a stickly sweetness that
there's definitely a lot of sweetness in the nose on the new one, the new 1920.
I don't know if I would have thought bubblegum initially, but that sweet and that super sugary, like almost fake corn syrupy sweet.
Right.
Yes, I see where you're coming from there. That's astute observation, Ben.
TJ, what do you got?
So, yeah, I'm kind of with you guys. The newer one is definitely sweeter. The older label, I think I like the older label nose better.
I like it definitely better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I like the less sweet stuff.
The new one is heavier. Maybe this is my mind playing tricks on me. But I'll say this, like Brendan said, I think they're very, very close. Like this is not
on the palate. I think they're way closer than on the nose. I would say on the palate, they're like very similar.
Let's try. I haven't done that yet. Do you pick anything while I'm tasting it? Do you pick anything out different or no?
The rye spice it's thinner. The new one is thinner, and there's that rye, which is higher in the mash bill, for whatever reason. I don't know if it's just less viscous with like the wood. The older one just tastes more like an older, more refined, richer, deeper, traditional bourbon, which is why I love 1920.
Yeah.
And the newer one, the newer release, just almost tastes newer to me. I don't know if that's my brain playing tricks on me or not, but there's a thinness to it where the rye comes out a little bit more, and there's just not as much heft and weight to it. The 1920 old version, to me, is superior by like 25% or so as we get into the palate and the finish.
25%.
Yeah, I think there's a legitimate difference as you taste it and let them kind of aerate a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if you were just given one of them at a time, like a random night or whatever, like you wouldn't pick anything out. But
I agree with that.
But if I'm sipping both of them, like if we're doing this experiment, then there's always going to be a winner and a loser, right?
I'm a loser. What?
Just true.
Kidding. No,
but you
make a good point.
Yeah, the old one is going to be the winner in this scenario.
Yeah, I can't not get the bubble. Like one tastes more like bubble gum than the other. Now that Ben mentions it, and it's the new one. All right, I think
the old. Yeah, Sorry, nobody wanted to hear my opinion. So
no, go ahead, TJ. Do you think the old one is better? Because that's what you're going to say.
My take. I know you think you know exactly where my take is going, but you don't. I think the old one is better.
That's really profound. It's really profound. I haven't heard that before.
Yeah, by a decent margin. Now, again, you tasted these. If you just drank the new one in 3 weeks,
you'd have no idea.
I think it's that minor of a difference, and I don't. Hopefully, we're not just tasting bubble gum for the rest of our lives, thanks to Ben. But if we are, we will put this back up against 1910 and let that win. So I am completely okay with either scenario.
The Bourbon Junkie guys did this a couple of weeks ago. Shout out to them because they're fun and they do a good job. And also, they have like thousands and thousands of subscribers. Pass some of that our way. They poured out one of the old and then two of the new, but they didn't know which one had 2 to 1. And they were able to say that there was a difference to where they correctly guessed and estimated both of them that the new ones were the two, that there was a duplicate and that they got that correct, that it was new. They liked the new one better for their preferences for what it's worth.
Interesting.
But I think I do too. They don't know what they're talking about. Subscribe to us instead. But the fact that they were able to distinguish that there was a difference, I think makes me feel a little less crazy and that this is a super scientific experiment.
Right.
Now, do you think, here will be the question.
Yes.
That I alluded to when we first started this. Do you think that Old Forester has done something different, or do you think this is a product of time? Wood has changed, the grain has changed, and the fact that it's just a new a new season. Like if we would have really, if we would have tasted the 2018 version of this compared to the 2019, though they were both the same label, would we have done the same thing? Would we have said that those 2 years back to back, you're using slightly different wood, you're using slightly different, crop of grain, using a slightly different summer to age it, or winter, whatever. Do you think that they've done something different, or do you think it's more likely that that's the change that we're tasting, smelling, and nosing too?
So I would say, I think with all like well-known brands and bottles that have to be released every year after year after year, there's always going to be like a profile drift. That being said, I think the only incentive that they would have to change something would be slightly younger than it would be in the past, because everyone talks about how this is like easily top contender and the most valuable everyday walk into a store and find it. Everyone likes this bottle. There's no reason for them to go and be like, hey, we're going to change the recipe on it. I would say if anything has changed, it could be slightly younger because they need to keep the product on the shelves. But I think there's also just profile drift in all, releases.
So to Ben's point, I was reading for doing some research on this beforehand, a review that said, so basically for this to be a straight bourbon as it's categorized as, but not have an age statement on it, has to be at least 4 years old. No, four.
Okay.
Two. Yes.
I think it's 2. 4 is bottle and bond. 2, I think, is straight. Time to Google.
Straight bourbon definition. At least 2 years, but if they don't say anything,
sounds like I'm a genius.
A little bit. Well, this review then was wrong because they basically theorized that it could be at least 4.5 years without the age statement on it. Basically, what we could be talking about is like 5 months or so, or 5 or 6 months of the difference could make potentially. But I'm an idiot and I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. Yeah. So
not because, like I said, not because it's like they want to change anything, but people buy it because it's a great product, so they don't want to run out.
There's not a huge. I was a little overzealous when I said 25% earlier. Probably
25 is a ton.
10 to 15%, I think, tops overall. There's one that is distinguishable difference, but and also to be fair,
I like the bitter oak on the old one.
On the old one, and that
it's just a little more bitter, a little more savory side to me.
Makes you feel like you're drinking like a 15-year-old bourbon, right? Like with the richness and look at the color on it too. Older. This 1920 old one that I have, air's been getting at it for a while. Like I've had this for about a year. So this one,
that could also play
it for you guys. Yeah, I've only had it for a couple weeks.
That could also play a role.
Mm-hmm. Science.
Speaking of science, Ben and I did a little scientific testing this week.
Yes.
Ben.
Yes.
Tell the people what we did on Thursday.
Guys, we went to an event. This was put on by the Tempe Whiskey Society. Shout out Tempe, hook us up. But we went to a Old Forester tasting, and it was the whole Whiskey Row series, four tastes, and it ended with 2021 birthday bourbon for a stellar deal. I think Jay was the guy that put it on the main.
Jay Ware.
Yeah, Jay Ware. Shout out to you. Really solid presentation, great event, and we all got to taste 2021 birthday bourbon, which that ain't going to be on no shelf that I've seen. So you got to go out and just taste it.
Yeah, it was the event was $55 per person. It was
$55 and with food.
Pretty limited. 28 people could be there. It was at Whiskey Cake, so I've talked a ton about Whiskey Cake. Talked about the whiskey there is obviously fantastic. The food is just as good. The food there is phenomenal. One day when Brendan comes down, he'll go with us to Whiskey Cake. But
yeah,
I hate that name. I have to be honest.
Do you really? Because the Whiskey Cake there.
Wait till you try the Whiskey Cake. It's
really?
It's amazing.
So
oh my god! There's a real thing called Whiskey Cake.
Oh
my god!
The food itself is great. Like how you go to places, and you're like, I'll just get the burger, and the burger ends up being very average. Their burger is amazing. They have a meat and cheese board that's freaking fantastic. All their appetizers are really, really good. I've gotten short rib there, carrot. I've gotten a Reuben there. That's fantastic. And then the whiskey cake is the best. It's probably my favorite dessert in Tampa. That or Burns' ice cream. Yeah, like it's that good.
All right, so you guys got to take me next time I'm down and treat me.
I've offered you 3 times and you've never accepted once.
That's not. I mean, I was okay.
So since Brendan hates us, whiskey cake did all you can eat food, great spread from them. There was lamb. Brendan, there was they served us lamb for the $55. We got to duck, yeah, whatever. Sorry.
Completely different, but sure.
Yeah, it's a small animal, so whatever. There was lamb duck, mostly duck, hold the lamb. Got to try 1870, 1897, 1910, 1920, and then the birthday bourbon for 2021 for $55. You go buy a pour of each of those, the 1870, they weren't full pours, I'll say that. They were like half pours. But you go buy those four pours themselves and enough food as we bought, that'd have been $55 itself.
Easily.
Plus you got a tip, and then you get the birthday bourbon, which I paid $40 for birthday bourbon not too long ago. I talked about it on the show.
Yeah.
So if you think about it from that perspective, we got basically everything else for $15, plus the camaraderie, plus the Old Forester rep there telling us about the Whiskey Row series, answering questions, chatting us up. Also,
Old Forester socks.
Old Forester socks and a little rocks glass, which is really cool.
I'm way more interested in the socks, but
thanks for the invite, guys. I was actually
I'm wearing the socks right now.
You were in Tampa, and you said you had plans that day, so we did not invite you. So had a ton of fun at that event. Brendan, you were down here as well. Talk to us a little about your bourbon extravaganza. And I mentioned this. The lady told us that there was nothing different between the two 1920s. There was no
mash bill difference.
One more point. No mash bill difference. No, length of. I mean, she told us there was no difference. So I would assume that takes into account everything. My thought is that it's mostly like drift, like just profile drift slightly over the years. Also, what year did you get your old bottle of 1920? Was it possibly end of 2019? Because it could be two. It could be 2 off, right? Like it could be 2 releases off.
I got this. So I've gone through like 3 bottles. I got it at the end of 2020.
Okay, so it's just 1 year off then.
From Costco, because they had that and Old Forester 100 for 8. No, wait, that was 1910.
That was 19.
10.
It was 2019. Yeah. Because I bought that same pack.
Yeah. 2019, so 2 off. Wow.
So maybe 2 years off. So maybe that's the bigger difference there.
Could be.
So she was not a big fan, and we did it there at Whiskey Cake. She was not a massive fan of us mixing 10 and 20 to make 15. She's like,
that's heresy. Heresy to me.
1915 is fantastic that it's not even funny.
Did she not know about that or like understand that was the thing?
Oh, she definitely did.
Oh, she knew about it. She's like, yeah, don't go to Etsy and print off your own label of 1915. I was like,
no, that's definitely what we do.
Maybe you guys can just make an amazing, incredible product.
I basically just said, that's what I said. I said, well, then make it yourself and we'll stop doing that. Like,
it was so good. It's so good.
Okay. Now, Brendan, talk to us about your non-Old Forester birthday bourbon.
Sorry, dude.
Well, you guys were just living it up on Thursday. I went out with my dad and my stepmom to celebrate a belated birthday at
the same.
Urban Stillhouse in St. Pete, which is an extension, basically like a partial distillery / nice restaurant for Horse Soldier. If you guys are familiar, that is a military-owned or former military-owned spirits company. Now they distill about half of their stuff in the St. Pete, like the actual still house is in the restaurant, which is pretty cool. It's a really cool scene, and the food is awesome. But they do like their gin, their vodka, their clearer spirits there, and they do their bourbon and their whiskey from a distillery in Ohio that they have a barrel sharing product with. So I did a tasting set, and I've heard decent things about Horse Soldier for a little while now. I tried 3 different types of their bourbon. I did their straight bourbon whiskey, which very mediocre. Okay. Yeah, very mediocre, very average. Small batch bourbon whiskey, which is solid. Their signature barrel strength, which Ben gave me a heads up on before. He said, hey, you'll probably end up liking this. He was correct. That was very, very solid.
Because the best.
It was very really good. Very good. About $75, I think, for a bottle. So I don't know if quite like I'm comparing that to like the 1920 at 60, similar proof. 1920 is tough to beat, but that's a good, solid bang for your buck whiskey that I would recommend everyone at least try. That was a good, fun experience. Wasn't Old Forester birthday bourbon, but it was still good.
So going back to the Old Forester birthday bourbon, Ben, what were your thoughts on that overall?
Interesting. So okay. So I'm gonna put some prefaces around this. It was a brand new bottle. It didn't have a whole lot of time to like open up, and in my opinion, a bottle like that should have some time to breathe because it's a little bit older. I was anticipating a lot of like a banana nut bread, pumpkin spice kind of profile because I was so ready for like heavy spice, banana, that kind of approach. But I got like a sour apple, caramel.
Like a candied apple almost.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like it was so off the regular Old Forester. I didn't know what to think. It was kind of like off-putting. Not off-putting in the fact that I didn't like it. It was off-putting in the fact that it was different than what I anticipated.
Definitely different than you anticipated. The one I had, the 2018, was more of like an orangish cherry.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think every year is just very different. Yeah, Jake says Ben's always searching for the banana. So
Jake, shut up.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Ben let his.
I was very anticipating something, and it just was different than I thought.
Yeah, what he wanted was very different than that. But
yeah,
would
I take that $55 back? No freaking way.
But have you guys ever had? Have you had Old Forester birthday bourbon like other years of it?
No,
previously?
that was the first time I
tried it. He had. I had the 18, and I thought they were both like of similar qualities. Like they're good, but they're not worth the. They didn't get it on retail. That's one thing, but they're not worth the squeeze. Like they're not. I think everybody should try one. Say you've done it, but they're not. The 1915 was better. I think 1910 by itself.
Specifically, didn't drink our 1910 and 20 to mix to get to a similar proof as the birthday, just to like compare to 1915.
By far.
And I thought the 15 was better.
And if Statesman was, sorry, go ahead, TJ.
I was gonna say I thought the 1910 was better by itself, and I thought the 1920 was better by itself than the birthday bourbon. Like I thought both of them were better than the birthday. Now the birthday did beat out the 70 and the 97, so there's
garbage.
Statesman, I have some Statesman. Finally got a sample of it, so we should definitely do that soon.
Yeah,
I haven't drank it like the poor man's. I had it like at my my buddy's bachelor party. It was really nice.
Share with us.
Yeah,
I mean, you weren't at the bachelor party, so
I want to try the 117 Old Forester. If anyone's got any samples of that, send that thing over.
Wait, what? What is it?
117 series or this 170 series? It was sold distillery release only. It's like a 350 bottle. Anyway, don't worry about it. If you don't know about it, if you're a listener, send it in. I want to try it.
If you know, you know.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, right?
Huh. You guys are dead to me.
Brendan, do you want to talk any more about your non-birthday bourbon week? Or do you want to just go right into us hanging out together?
Well, maybe we get into that and pursue some purchases, and it all kind of falls in line together. So let's get into it.
Go ahead.
Let's get into it. Talk to us, Brendan.
I was really hoping TJ was going to set me up there. So I went down to what? Oh, 117. All these people are commenting all of a sudden. I don't know what to make of this. It's really flustering me. Thank you, Dale.
Hi, Angel Share. Yeah.
Real name. So I went down to St. Pete this past week to see my dad and a doctor because, guys, I have scoliosis. My spine's like all like that. But you don't care about that. You care about the bourbon. So I got to do some sampling of bourbon in the St. Pete area, and at the doctor's office that helped with the cracking and the spine adjustment and whatnot, nice and loosey-goosey. On my way home, I stopped up in Tampa, did a little bit of a bourbon hunting tour per TJ's advice, and made my way up to TJ's house where Ben, TJ, and I all hung out. We tried some different samples that we'll get into, but I stopped in 3 different stores in the Tampa area. I did Lucan's, which I've been familiar with in the St. Pete area as well.
Yep.
That was nice. Then I went to Burns, which is the steakhouse's like subsidiary right across the street, their spirit shop. And I got a bottle. Can we jump to this? Is this part of Pursuits and Purchases?
Yeah,
Let's
sure.
roll.
Do whatever you want.
I did a little Sagamore Spirit because I was jealous that Ben and I got TJ a bottle for a housewarming present. I wanted to get my own Sagamore Spirit of the Tampa Bay Whiskey Society cognac cask rye whiskey there. A pretty lady sold it to me, and it was cool. Like, they got to try like 4 or 5 different ones that she got me to sample, and kind of went down the line of like, hey, you may like this, may like this. Like, she did a nice job sommeliering me a little bit. And again, she was easy on the eyes, had a German accent, I believe, which I am a sucker for, and I bought $70 rye whiskey that I liked. Didn't love.
Yeah,
that helped a little bit. Then, guys, I went to Gaspar's, which
is the best.
We've had Jimmy on before. I know you guys like Jimmy. Now I understand why he's considered a legend, why that place is considered so cool. That was
solid.
Best store in
freaking
Tampa.
awesome. It was the best store I've ever been to, between the selection of scotch and bourbon, the store picks, and then the knowledgeable. Like, I was listening to the whiskey clerk talk to other people, and
they know their
his
stuff,
knowledge.
man.
They've got like 3 or 4 guys in there that are like
freaking know
Jimmy
their stuff.
Was it was cool. Yes, you guys talked it up well, and you may have even undersold it. Like, it was so cool. So and then I saw the same exact bottle for like $15 cheaper. I'd already bought it. What are you gonna do? Yeah, unfortunately, I saw a bottle of the Old Forester. Was it the full proof?
Barrel strength.
Barrel strength. But unfortunately, I had to buy a couple of other store picks to get that one, given that I'd already bought this. TJ ended up buying something for me as well. We could have probably been smarter in how we allocated that had we known, but it is what it is. So I took this, made my way to TJ's house, and TJ, you can go from there.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a live tasting, which was a ton of fun. Ben and Brendan and myself, we tasted some of Decadence Joe's samples that he sent us. He sent us a Penelope toasted that was fantastic. Probably one of the best things we had of the day.
Penelope toasted.
Oh,
that might
Penelope.
The
Penelope toasted definitely beat out the Michter's without a doubt.
Yeah.
What was the other one that was in my sample bag? The Blue Note 17 year. That tasted like a 2x4.
Woody.
Funky.
Very, very funky and woody. But it's something that's been on wood for 17 years. Kind of makes sense for it to be that way. Ben left his samples at home, so we didn't get to try those because he's a stingy son of a gun.
Conveniently, he left.
I literally had no idea we were doing this. So,
and then Brendan's was the Old Forester pick, which was really, really good. That was probably the second best thing that we had. His had the
Baumburgers, which
Baumburgers 108. Yeah, that was a
high
good
proof, and I think that's Michter's. And that was okay. It was a little funky, but I liked it. Yeah, the Old Forester barrel strength, which
so good.
That might have been that in
Number 2.
The Penelope. Those were the two like
clear
contenders
winners of the 6. Yeah,
and then when you're trying all these high proof ones at once, like something like this, like the Dovetail, which is a high proof, but like much lighter and finished. It doesn't hold up like when you're nuking yourself with 130 proof.
What is that? What is that? Finished in water?
I mean, look at for something that's 125 proof to be this light comparatively.
Yeah, that's crazy.
We then did you talk about the whiskey I gave you? Did you talk about that or no?
I did not yet. I'm getting to that.
So
it was a great weekend for Brendan.
I really made that well.
Except for the Old Forester, didn't get.
Yeah, sorry.
But I picked up a bottle of Midwinter Night Dram that someone named Joe Decadence, who's apparently very insecure about being called out on this podcast.
Shout out, Joe.
Such a great human being.
Decadence.
He had sent us, Ben and myself, that we'd purchased from.
Must be nice.
We got so I was able to pick that up, and a total surprise, and I absolutely love this bottle. I love what's inside it. My wife loved it too. I showed her the bottle. She thought it was really cool. Guys, thank you. Happy birthday to me, but thank you for being thoughtful friends and podcast co-hosts. Old Elk Weeded Bourbon from Gaspar's, 113 proof. TJ, do you want to tell them about it? Because we opened this up and I loved it. This is awesome. Thank you.
Really good. Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah,
really good.
This is BOGO at Gaspar's. So.
We just hid my bottle. No, it's really good. It's done by not only Gaspar's but Tampa Bay Whiskey Society and I think
Whiskey Willie's.
Yeah. Whiskey Willie's, yeah, kind of the tribunal there.
This is such a cool bottle.
Really good. And I know we've given him enough shout outs, but Decadence Joe loves that weeded bourbon, and I was between I was between the bottle that Brendan bought at Burns and that bottle, and I'm very glad that I bought this one because otherwise you'd have had two of the Sagamore.
That would have been funny.
How great would it have been if you would have gotten 2 bottles of that, and the one that you got for free was the one that was $15 cheaper? So that would have been actually funnier. So, now I'm glad that I got you that. We tried it; and it was very, very good.
Yeah.
And so we had a great time on Saturday, all hanging out in person. Always kind of cool when we can do that. And then, you guys remember the Buffalo Trace that we aged 3 or 4 5 months ago?
Do I? Does everyone listening? Hell
That's
yeah.
all I can think about. It's the Buffalo Trace and TJ's tiny wood barrel.
Why does TJ look so concerned right now? What's happening with
He's ready to go.
He's reading a tweet up on the other screen. So we poured that Buffalo Trace. First of all, we lost about a bottle's worth
so worth it
in absorption of the barrel. Like the barrel.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's an angel's share, right? What am I learning?
In my house,
that's the wood share. Okay?
I wouldn't call. Yeah, I wouldn't
it's
call
not
it
evaporation. That's literally wood stealing.
We call it evaporation in my 74-degree house. So yeah, the wood took up a lot of it. Came out super dark. We'll post a video of it later. Brendan took one, but the bourbon came out super, super dark. We will review that soon to let people kind of know what that tastes like up against regular Buffalo Trace.
It's dark. It's dark. I'm holding it up. It's darker than the Old Forester Barrel Strength 130. Yeah, look at what it did. That's crazy.
It's definitely dark. And then we filled the barrel back up with rum. We're gonna let that rum age for a little while, and I think we're gonna throw a High West Double Rye in there to give a High West Double Rye rum finish. I'm not 100% sold on that High West Double Rye, but that's just what I think I want to go with. So stay tuned as we continue that project on, because that's been a lot of fun. I'm excited to review that. I know that we got to get through a couple more spooky reviews for Brendan. I know it's very important for him to get his
spooky review.
Very, very important for him to get his spooky reviews off. But hopefully we'll be able to review that soon enough.
Get off your spooky reviews, Brendan.
Get off of them. Ben, did you pursue anything or purchase anything this week?
I purchased one ticket to Old Forester birthday Bourbon 2021, costing $55. I purchased that.
Are you guys pursuing anything?
I bought so much stuff and have added so much to the collection that no. I actually remember I talked about the Westland Gariana and I almost bought one. Well, Gaspar's has like 2 of them, and it wasn't the new one. It was an old like 2015 version of it, and I said no, it's been there for 5 years. I'll wait a little bit, maybe in a couple weeks or months, or when I come back down, I'll let the bank account pick back up a little bit. But no, nothing pursuing or purchasing right now.
You spent so much that your $150,000 salary doesn't cover whiskey.
Yeah, Brendan. Yeah, Brendan.
I can tell you make good money because your Wi-Fi finally looks like it's on point, and you haven't
No, my Wi-Fi has been awful. Xfinity's been throttling me because I haven't set up the new modem yet. Why would you send someone a modem 6 months ago and then tell me it's obsolete?
No one cares, Brendan. Okay.
But you look good this week. So anyway,
do I usually not? Is that a problem?
Okay. In other news, we are reviewing Balcones.
Balconies.
Balcones.
I'm going to go out to my balconies.
Brimstone Corn Whiskey. We did, what did we do? We did Mellow Corn first week. We did Heaven's Door.
Last week.
Heaven's Door.
Red Breast
finish. It's a spooky month.
Apparently Heaven is spooky to Brendan. And so,
spooky heaven.
Spooky heaven. Oh.
Well, no. I will not sit here and let you blaspheme against me. We did that one because that was our alternative, because you lost the samples in your move of all the other scary
ones. I found them the next day, so
that did me no good.
So spooky heaven.
Knock, knocking on spooky door.
And then obviously we have the Brimstone now that we're going to review on Thursday. So tune in for that. Thanks for hanging out. If you watch this live, we really appreciate it. Subscribe on iTunes, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you are. It's all Bourbon on a Budget. We enjoy the social media interactions. So thanks for hanging out. Tune in on Thursday, whether that be on Apple, YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, doesn't matter. We will review Balcones, Brimstone, Corn Whiskey,
Balcones.
Balcones. Whiskey.
Balcones.
Until next time, for myself, TJ Pittenger, Ben Cock, Brandon Sinone. Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, you actually hit the thing.